I think back to it, and I had really good hair. Remember the hair of the 80s? We were the ones responsible for putting that hole in the ozone layer. Remember that? But life was so much simpler. I mean, no emails, no apps, no remembering 47 passwords that you have to change every 90 days. And when you left work, you actually left work. Those were simple things. Now, I wasn't in healthcare back then, but it was probably a little simpler back then for you, because can you imagine what would happen if back in the day I had told you that you were going to have your patients scheduling their appointments on a device they carry with them in their pockets? And your physicians were going to see people on a screen. Yeah. So you've turned this into a superpower, where, I mean, not only are you dealing with frustrated patients and schedule magic that you do, but you're also taking care of 3 tasks before 9 o'clock a.m. that you didn't even know existed. And that plan that you had at 7:30, yeah, 7:42, it's gone. So we're looking at all the things that are going on. We have staffing shortages, we have burnout, we have generational clashes, we have patient expectations that are higher than they've ever been before. And these people are judging you online. Remember back in the day, people would tell 2 friends? Now the whole world hears. So we are having a little bit of 80s fun here. And everybody that's walking in there is saying this song by Simple Minds. Don't you forget about me. Your patients are saying that. I know, I see some of you already singing it. It's going to be in your head. Don't worry, there'll be other songs that are coming too. But your best employees are looking to see, are they seen? Are they valued? And are they remembered? So I spoke with several of your members before coming here today. And the first of the Michelles I talked to, Michelle Augustine, we were talking about how employees have so many different choices these days, right? I mean, they could work in food service, they could do all of these things, making similar types of money, but without the stress. And we used to worry about them going to another practice, but what happens now? You know, they decide, you know what, I'm going to drive for Uber. I'm going to deliver food for DoorDash, or I'm going to be a YouTube influencer, because that's a thing now. So we're looking at a whole different market that we're playing with. And the truth is that culture is everything. When you have workers who are exhausted and they're leaving, and we can do these little things to make it just a little better. We don't have to spend a lot of time, we don't have to spend a lot of money, but we can connect with our people. So I want you to think back of your very first day in this industry. You know, you showed up at the practice, you don't know anybody, you don't know exactly why you chose this profession, but there was something about it that kept you here. So just think about one reason why you're still in this industry. And I want you to turn to your neighbor and in maybe one sentence, share with them what made you choose healthcare. What keeps you here? This is your opportunity to talk to each other. We're going to have several of these. And when I raise my hand, you're going to come back. That's going to be great. Now, I wasn't listening in at your tables, but I can almost guarantee that nobody in here said, it's the spreadsheets. It's the paperwork. I love dealing with insurance companies. This is awesome. Or did you? Okay. It's about the people, the connection, the difference that we're making. So in our time together, we're going to go through my 6 Gears of Grategy. It starts with attitude, because things really have changed as far as expectations of people coming in. Next, we're going to work on appreciation, which is the personal practice of gratitude, finding the good no matter what is blowing up around you. Next, we'll go to access. Access is not only access to you as leaders, but access to the tools and resources that people need. We go with applause. And applause is that tangible recognition for a job well done, catching people in the act of doing things well. Acts of service, the why behind what you do, how you are making a difference, making that dent in the universe. And we'll finish it up with accountability, so that you have something that you are walking out of here that you can go and start to implement the day you go back to your office. Does that sound good? Because when all the gears are going together, your culture flows smoothly. And yes, I really love my graphic here. Okay, so attitude. This is how you are showing up. And I remember very clearly, it was a beautiful, fabulous day in my hometown, Cleveland, Ohio. Woohoo! And it was beautiful, perfect summer day, but it was July of 2020. So think back, I mean, you all were essential. I was not. My husband was not. So my speaking business had gone from thriving to gasping for air, and my husband had been on furlough since March. And so this one particular day, we were relaxing in our extravagant, luxurious, 14-foot blow-up pool. It was actually the last one that Big Lots had in the state of Ohio, so we were pretty happy to get that. My husband Scott was working on his beard and his tan. He had vowed not to shave his beard until the end of the pandemic. Now, I like him at about Chuck Norris, rest in peace. When he started getting to Grizzly Adams, I was like, ew, dude, not a good look on you. So thankfully he shaved that. Because if he had actually waited till the end of the pandemic, he would have been at like ZZ Top, and we weren't going there. We were kind of going back and forth, like, what are we going to do? Because Scott was working at a job for 13 years, he made decent money, he had the benefits, but it was a soul-sucking workplace. But did I mention we needed the benefits? So on one hand, we wanted him to get back to work, but on the other hand, it's like, oh, is there something else out there? So he said, well, let's update your LinkedIn profile. Scott's like, I am 59 years old. Who's going to hire me? And he was absolutely correct. When you are 59 years old in the middle of a pandemic, ain't nobody hiring you. I also learned a lesson that when you update a LinkedIn profile that hasn't been touched for 13 years, and then you connect with 250 people on that same day, yeah, LinkedIn doesn't like it. And I got Scott sent to LinkedIn jail, where I had to send his, driver's license and front and back so they knew he wasn't a bot. Anyway, the thing is that we couldn't control what was happening around us. We could only control our attitude. And it was looking back on that and thinking that was 8 months we got to just hang out together, and that which was the most in our 25 years at that point of marriage. I discovered acrylic art painting. It was just had started my podcast. So we look at the choices that we have, and are you miserable or are you walking? No, I'm not going to sing to you because I have a terrible voice. But think about it. You bring it. No matter your role in the organization, you have the opportunity to make someone's day a little bit better, or you can make it worse. So we're going to do a quick finger poll here. Play if you dare. This is what it looks like. How do you show up at work on average? 1, someone stole my coffee. 2, I'm grumpy. 3, kind of neutral. 4, I'm good most of the time. And 5, baby, I'm walking on sunshine. So let's see those fingers.
When I show up.
All right, so we have lots of 4s. Look at, you know what, and the reason why I got my people in this room, you're all walking on sunshine or at least getting there. That's awesome. Thank you. You know, it's one of those things that I was going to say, if you're at a 1 or a 2, you don't have to get to a 5, but you can get to a 3. You can get to neutral because you don't know what happened to that person 5 minutes before they came into your facility. We all have choices. Just like no one can make you happy, no one can make you mad. So when we start to change our attitude, we start to develop this practice of appreciation. What you focus on really does expand. And for me, it started in 2009 with a fire walk. Any firewalkers in the room? Every once in a while, somebody will actually raise their hand. This is not a euphemism. This is what it looks like. It's a walk across a 12-foot bed of red-hot burning embers. No, I did not get burned, and no, I have no idea why I didn't get burned. Because this actually wasn't my first fire walk, it was my second. My first one was in 1989, when I was 6, just in case you're doing the math. Thank you for laughing. I actually shared that story and that statistic, and my client came up to me and she said, I can't believe you walked on fire when you were 6. I said, I can't believe you thought I was born in 1983. But the point being is that we spent 4 days and we knew that if we didn't take action, something would, we wouldn't be able to sustain it. So as my friends and I are driving home from Chicago, we're excited, we're jacked up. You might actually say we were fired up. My jokes do not get any better. We also know that unless we take action, all of that stuff would go right out the window, and we didn't want that to happen again. So we opened up a Facebook thread, and every day we shared with each other people we met, experiences that we had, things that we learned. And my friend Mike said, why don't we write down 3 things we're grateful for? We did that every day and held each other accountable. And it was that practice that changed everything. I was actually in medical sales at the time. And customers I hadn't talked to for months were calling me, hey, can you come in and sell me some stuff? Like, I will be right there. There are 2 large facilities I've been calling on for almost 5 years that closed effortlessly. I noticed the difference from my husband, Scott. All of these things had changed, and the only thing that I had changed was that practice of gratitude. So that's where the research began, and I've read hundreds, if not thousands, of articles and papers and books to see, is gratitude more than this feel-good emotion that we ascribe to it? And there was. So it works. And it's the simple practice, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but I have a whole program on it too, but it's finding the good and writing it down. But Lisa, do I need to write it down? Yes. Because you're feeling the pen in your hand, you're seeing the words on paper, you're hearing the words. And it's easier to get to that. But there's also going to be some mornings when you just don't have it. You wake up and say, I have nothing to be grateful for. So we just take the pages back and we remind ourselves. But there are going to be some days when it's just not happening. So I'm going to come up to you, young lady, and tell me, Sharon, one thing in your life right now that's not wrong. Your job. Tell me one more thing in your life that's not wrong. Family. And one more. Sharon, you are demonstrating this beautifully. Because if I had said, what are you grateful for? You would have said house, family, health, like that, right? Did it feel a little weird when I said, what's not wrong? Your brain kind of did that little backflip, didn't it? I don't know. Because we're used to saying what we're grateful for, not that. So I'm going to give all of you the opportunity to try this out. You're going to turn to one of your neighbors, and back and forth one time, you're just going to turn to that person and say, what's not wrong? And share one thing. Go ahead, talk to each other.
What's not wrong with that?
have two tools right there when you're waking up in the morning and you're writing down those 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. Or in a worst case scenario, you can just start the day by saying what's not wrong. And what we think about, again, when we're dealing with everything that we are on a daily basis, when I talked to the other Michelle Maynard, we talked about, and Michelle, this was a quote that literally came up on every interview that I have done in just about every industry lately, and particularly in healthcare and long-term care, is that people just aren't as kind as they used to be. Have we noticed this? I mean, in a post-pandemic society, we have loneliness. We're used to talking to people without, bodies and legs and stuff because we're seeing everybody on the screen if we see them at all. So we're thinking about the people who are those frontline staff taking care of people that are coming in, they're already frustrated, and they may not be that kind. I go to CVS, and on the sign there, they have posters that basically say, "Be nice to our staff." What had to happen for a national chain to have a whole thing that says, "Be nice to our people"? Shouldn't that just be part of like the golden rule? But it makes us realize that even though not everybody's going to be kind to us, we can be kind to them. And when we err on that side of maybe we're not walking on sunshine, but we're at least at neutral, that we are not taking out our nasty mood, looking for, and I'm not saying to, everything's happy, happy, joy, joy all the time. You are going to get mad and frustrated and sad and depressed and all this. So we feel those emotions. But when that starts to let up, we can say, what's one thing that I'm grateful for? And start there. And give yourself the gift of that happening. Mother Teresa once said, we're more starved for appreciation than we are for bread. And this comes down to 2 words. And these are 2 words that I just gave you on the screen real quick. There are 2 words that you've been growing up when it comes to expressing appreciation. And those 2 words, of course, would be thank you. You're welcome. This is one of 2 acceptable phrases when it comes to accepting appreciation. Because what do we hear instead? Somebody says thank you and you hear, yep, my pleasure, no problem, yep, doing the job, no worries, it was nothing. When somebody says thank you, they're giving you a gift. And when you say it was nothing, you're taking that gift and you're rejecting it. Now you might be saying, Lisa, it's really not that big deal. I mean, when I say no problem, it's really not a problem. When I say no worries, there's really nothing to worry about. Here's why it is. Your brain doesn't process small words. What do I mean by that? When you say no problem, my brain hears problem. There's a problem? What do you mean there's a problem? When you say no worries, my brain thinks worries. What should I be worried about? When you say you're welcome, when you say my pleasure, it's a different connection. And I heard some my pleasure people in there. But when I talk about my pleasure, a lot of people say, you know what, Lisa, I don't mind saying that and everything, but every time I do, it feels like I'm at Chick-fil-A, which actually is a registered trademark of Chick-fil-A. How do I know this? I tweeted about it. The cow tweeted me back. So you're going to have the opportunity to try this out with Lisa Ryan's soon to be famous thank you, you're welcome activity. It looks like this. You'll turn to the person next to you. They will say thank you. You will say you're welcome. Thank you, welcome, thank you, welcome. Back and forth 3 times and then switch. Do that now.
Thank you. Thank you.
I always say no problem.
All right, let's come back.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
Now, you don't have to admit it, but did some of you discover that your welcome muscle's a little weak?
Yep.
I actually have 2 women sitting next to each other in the program. One said thank you, the other one said no problem. Did we just not talk about this? Now, I know that out of all the classes you're taking, this is going to be the silliest one that you do all week, probably online. I also know it's going to stick with you. I've had people that 7 years ago, they were in my program, they're like, I'm still saying you're welcome because of you. Because it's sticky. We start to, when those words are coming out, no, you're welcome. My pleasure. And people will ask me things like anytime stuff. They're not bad. They're just a little bit more generic than that connection that we have. So we've worked on that appreciation now. And when we do these things, we're really feeling that this is the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves, because we're starting to love ourselves and our lives more, because we're seeing the good no matter what is going on with it. So as Whitney Houston says, it really is this inward focus that we're doing. Just giving yourself the gift of 2 or 3 minutes in the morning and writing down those 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. So we move to access. And access, again, is a different level of expectation, because it's access to you as leaders, but also to training. So let's say, for example, you have a brand new employee. They have never been in a medical practice in their entire life. They have no idea what's going on. So they come into Jenna's office uninvited. They sit down and they say, Jenna, I know I've only been here for 3 days, but I see some things, and I'd like to share them with you. Now, I know Jenna would not be doing this, but some managers would do everything that they had so that their eyes did not roll back in their head. Honey, we've been doing it this way for 20 years. What if you're right? Uh-oh. You know somebody. I know the giggle table has somebody like immediately came to mind here. Oh, sorry. Uh-oh. I was just told that snitches get stitches. But we have people who are coming in with a different level of expectation, because I remember when I was going back in my career, I was about 23 years old. I was working for a company called Premier Industries in Cleveland, Ohio. It was started by Mort Mandel out of the trunk of his car selling fasteners in the 1940s. So we have our company picnic, hot dogs and potato salad in the parking lot, and Mort was there. And I went up to Mort and I'm like, Mr. Mandel, it's such a pleasure to meet you. So honored to work for your company. I don't know, I was blabbering on like a 23-year-old fangirl would. And Mr. Mandel was very nice. We had a great conversation. But by the time I got back to my office, the office was a Twitter. This was way before Twitter. Because the people in my office were going, why did you talk to Mort? What did you say to Mort? What did he say to you? Because for those of us who have been around for a while, know what I should have done, right? I should have talked to my boss, who talked to her boss, who talked to his boss, who talked to their boss, and say, is it okay if Lisa talks to Mort? That doesn't work anymore. We spend the time getting to know a little bit about our employees, connecting with them, sitting down with them, especially in leadership roles, because it makes a difference. They're going to feel more connected. So we're even going to go further back in my career to when I was a 19-year-old data entry clerk working for an executive search firm. This is the AI-generated version of me. You can see there's even floppy disks in there. Champ did a really good job on it. So this was my first job out of high school. And you might be saying, high school, you didn't go to college? No, I didn't go to college. My parents didn't go to college. I didn't know a single person in high school that was going to college. Never crossed my mind. And at 19 years old, I already had the 3 things that all successful people have. I had made it. Number 1, I had a business card. Now, my boss wanted to know why a 19-year-old data entry clerk needed a business card, and I assured her, when I go to lunch and they have the fishbowl, I want to be able to put my business card in the fishbowl and win a free lunch. And got me the card. I had a title. I wasn't a data entry clerk, I was senior information specialist. And I had an office with a door. And one day I'm working in my office, putting resume data into our mainframe computer, and my boss, Ann, walked in the office. And she said, would you like to take a Dale Carnegie class? And I said, Dale who? And if you're wondering, Dale who? Dale Carnegie wrote one of the most important business books ever written called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Still up and relevant as today as it was in 1937. And Ann was inviting me to take the Dale Carnegie class. Now she could have given it to any of the VPs. I mean, the reason it was even open was one of the VPs decided at the last minute he didn't want to go. But instead, she asked me. And that invitation changed everything. Not only did it make me lead to what I'm doing today with my speaking career, but it also gave me a love of education. And I said, I should go to college. So for the next 14 years, Tuesday and Thursday nights from 6 to 8 and 8 to 10, and if you're wondering, well, why didn't you go to school on Wednesdays? Okay, people, it was the 80s. What was on television on Wednesdays? Dynasty, people, Dynasty. Okay, and I had my priorities. I know. You're saying, what's Dynasty? That's just so sad. No, it was kind of, how do we describe Dynasty? Yeah, I don't even know. The point being is that had it not been for that original invitation, my life would have been completely different. So who is it that works with you? Who is that person who's one invitation, one investment away from being absolutely indispensable to your organization? Because think about it, we're busy, right? We have things to do. We don't have time to go to school at night and on the weekends and during the day or whatever. But when you have those people that do, I was speaking for a HR group, and I asked them, how do you invest in your people? This one woman raised her arm. She said, we give every one of our employees $1,500 to invest in whatever personal or professional development they want every year. You could almost see the heads of the accounting managers exploding as they were saying, we have 50 people, we don't have that kind of money. So I asked her, what percentage of the people take advantage of that? So think about it. Here's $1,500. You can invest in whatever you want, from a welding certification to underwater basket weaving instruction and anything in between. So shout it out. What's the percentage of people that took advantage of that $1,500? 2, 10, 5, 20. That's some really cynical people here. It's so funny because with HR audience, they are so optimistic. They're like 75, 90. No, you cynical people were right. It's 3 to 5%. And you know who those 3 to 5% are? They're your future leaders. They're the people to pay attention to. We look at who wants this, who wants more, and we try to figure out how to give that to them. Because every single day, this one's hopefully going to be in your head, every single day your employees are asking themselves the question, should I stay or should I go? It's every single interaction that they have. Because again, they have a lot more choices these days, and they don't have to stay with you. But when you create the workplace culture, and I'm not saying that money's nothing, but I do think that money is the big lie. Because people will say, I'm leaving for more money. Yeah, you're leaving for 50 cents more an hour. Hey, no. If the culture was right, they may not have started looking anyway. And so when I talked to Stephen Willis on one of our calls, he pointed out too that pay isn't the real problem. The real issue is the lack of a future. So we may not have in our practices that corporate ladder that we're climbing, but we can find out from our employees, where do you see yourself in a year? Now, we're certainly not going to ask 5 years, because nobody knows that. But where do you want to be a year from now? And if they say, well, I would love your job, all right, you know what, let's figure out how we can get you closer to that. And maybe it's allowing people to try different, investing in them. Not only the skills they need to do their job here, but how do we make them better tomorrow than they were today? Personal investments in them for their own personal development. I mean, you look at the fact there's like 1 million hours of content being uploaded to YouTube every single day, for goodness sake. People say, well, we used to try lunch and learns, they didn't work. Did you ask the people what they wanted to learn? When we can get people learning and growing together, and the other thing is that your people know things. So why not put different employees in charge of different types of training that they're good at? Having different conversations, learning and growing together, and giving people that opportunity so that they can be seen. So I'm going to give you, at your tables, again, think about the ways that you are investing in your people. Are you sending people out for training? Are you bringing people in? Do you have a training department? Do you set them up on online courses? But what are some of the ideas, and particularly interested in more of the personal development as well. And the reason why I do this is I can stand up here on stage all day long and give you great ideas. And some of you are going to be like, she's not in our industry, that'll never work. But they hear it from somebody in here, and you might be saying, well, why would I share that? That's like, yeah, duh. Everybody, that makes sense. But the one thing that you share may be exactly what someone else in this room needs to hear. So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes. Let's see if we can get a couple ideas that we can share and give you even more notes to take home.
But that was good because I've heard stuff in there, and while the codes were changed, I think it's relevant as well by letting them get set eyes, set ears, and it's also investing in them. So, but I need to do that. I need to do better. Like one of them to this conference because that's what someone did to me. Like the political ones, and then that's a reason. But I definitely do.
Okay, about 1 more minute.
Yeah, but we need to do better. Well, I'm in Nashville. Our lunch chapter is no longer. We kind of struggle, which is sad. This chapter president.
Okay, let's come back. So who either heard or shared something that was pretty cool that we should share with the rest of the group? This is your opportunity to point to somebody. Ooh, I'm getting people pointed at. Don't try to hide from a woman with a microphone. Okay, tell us who you are and what you do for the investment. Yeah.
I'm John. I run a OBGYN clinic, and one of the things I told them what we do is, this may be gross to somebody. Nobody likes to watch the speculums in our clinic. So our nursing supervisor incentivizes the staff that if you watch the speculums in your hall, then you get an extra hour of PTO time, and we incentivize it immediately at the end of that week. So they're like, I'll do the dishes. That's what they call it. That's what I have to do. But, it makes a big difference. So that's just one of them. The other one is we're trying to promote giving vaccines. We give $5 per shot. So if you're making $20 an hour and you get an extra $5 for one shot in an hour, you can imagine you're increasing your rate. We charge $35 fee to give the shot. So we've got the nurses promoting the shots and not the providers promoting the shots. So it makes a huge difference, and they're getting paid to promote our business.
Yeah, awesome. Let's give it up for John. See, that's the thing. It doesn't have to cost a lot of extra money, $5. It doesn't have to take, and one of the things with us knowing how valuable our time is, to just be able to get that extra PTO so that we can beat rush hour, get home a little bit early, and spend a little bit more time with our loved ones. These are the creative things that we're thinking of, because I'm sure that none of you have, overflowing budgets, right? But we just look for ways that we can be creative. What about one more? I was going to come to you because you sounded before when I was eavesdropping that you were sharing something really cool. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Latasha Mister, Church Health Director, Political Administration. So one of the things that we like to do is if people say they want to grow in the organization, they want to do more, we look for ways based on what our needs are as an organization. And we have one individual that's a phone room, patient service assistant, so they're just answering the phones. Wanted to do more. She's a medical assistant, had a degree but just answering the phones. And we were starting our value-based care initiative. And so I said, hey, you're an MA, you know some of this stuff. You want to learn something new? You want to learn this? And she said, yeah. And so while I didn't have a position in itself to create for her, she's one of our highest paid patient service assistants because she wanted it and she was able to navigate it to where she could do the value-based care work with outreach, looking at gaps in care and contacting patients about that and annual wellness visits in between phone calls that are coming in.
Yeah.
So she's balancing it. And so while on average most of our PSAs make around $16, she's one that makes almost $20.
Wow.
Just because she wanted to do different. And we were saying that everybody else was like, there's no time to do it, there's no time to do it. But when she learned it, she's like, oh, this is really not that hard. And she just makes it flow in her day. And it's been extremely impactful for us as an organization because for Humana, this year, we finished with like 4 stars, and
wow.
It's just 1.5 people that's doing that process, but because she wanted it, she got it, and
no, that's
now
awesome. Let's
she's
give it
growing.
up for Latasha. So what Stephen was saying, as far as it's not about the paycheck, do you think that that woman ever had another supervisor come up and ask her what she wanted, that actually noticed that she had that education? It's these little things. There's no one size fits all, but when we look for ways we can be creative, we can find all kinds of ways. So that's just a couple. So we go to applause. Oops. Again, the tangible recognition for a job well done. Marshall Lasada did a study where he took a look at teams and how they communicated with each other. And he found that on a high-performing team, there's a 6-to-1 positivity ratio. What does that mean? That means that for every 1 negative comment, they hear at least 6 positives. And it's not like, oh, yay, everything you do is so good. That's a good start to an idea. Let's see how we can elevate it. At the Lasada line, which is about 3-to-1, that's at neutral. That's where your quiet quitters hang out. Quiet quitters, not bad people, but they are doing exactly enough so that they don't get fired and you're paying them exactly enough so they don't quit. They're neutral. But those below that, that's where your team struggles. When we look at the Gallup numbers, 30% of employees being actively engaged, 20% of your employees being actively disengaged, 50% of your employees are in that quiet quitter. I'm just here. But think about it. Who gets the recognition? Rock stars, problem children. We have all of these people that maybe if we just started recognizing them authentically and specifically, we can start to turn that around and give them the tools they need to be rock stars. Because think about it, these people want company, don't they? Come join us. So we look for ways to catch it out. I remember I was doing a program, and a guy came up to me afterwards. He said, you know, Lisa, when I do something wrong, I get recognized 100% of the time. And when I do something well, it rarely gets noticed. So we want to start to flip that. I mean, think back in kindergarten when we got that gold star. Gold stars were awesome, weren't they? Well, while you're here, for the rest of your time together, look for ways to give people verbal gold stars. Because a lot of you have known each other, been around MGMA for a long time. But have you shared with them the difference that they've made in you and your career, and the difference that they're making in the industry? Because everybody wants to feel like they're a champion. And when we catch them in the act of doing things well, they can feel that way. So we're going to do my favorite part of the program. Okay, they're all my favorite parts of the program. But with this is going to be our shout out. So what's going to happen is I am going to share a specific group of people, and we're going to celebrate the backbone of TMGMA. So we're going to celebrate the background. When I go through one of these groups, you are going to yell out this. So practice? Yeah! Okay, here we go. Practice administrators and managers. You're translating between physicians, staff, insurers, regulators, and patients, sometimes all before 10 a.m. Yeah! Front desk and patient access. You've explained insurance rules you didn't write to patients who are already frustrated, and you keep the schedule moving. Yeah! Medical assistants and clinical teams, you room patients, juggle providers running behind, and catch the details to keep a small issue from becoming a big one. Yeah! Physicians and providers, you're making clinical decisions every few minutes while balancing documentation, expectations, and a schedule that never quite goes as planned. Yeah! Billing, coding, and revenue cycle, you speak fluent CPT, ICD-10, and denial management. And you keep fighting until the claim finally pays. Yeah! Compliance, IT, and operations, you keep HIPAA intact, systems running, and cyber threats away, and usually without anyone noticing. Yeah! Leaders and supervisors, just a couple more. You're the ones that everyone comes to when something breaks. Staffing, scheduling, morale, or all three at once. Yeah! All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to have this side of the room. Let's see, okay, this side of the room right here. I'm going to have you people stand up. Just stand. Don't worry, you're not going to be rubbing anybody's shoulders, I promise you. Okay, stand. Okay, I want you to look at the people on this side of the room. Just look at them. Stare these people down. Can you believe you are in the same room with these amazing rock stars? I want you to not only give them the loudest standing ovation you've ever given anybody, but then I will count it down and you will let them know they rock. So, standing ovation. Which immediately turns it into a competition. So people on this side of the room, look at them. Just stare them down. Can you believe you are in the same room with these amazing people? I want you to give them the loudest standing ovation you've ever. that appreciation, right? For some of you more than others, sorry, good. But it felt even better to give it. And that's what we're talking about. How can we every day start to catch other people in the act of doing things well? So for me, for everyone in the room, every smoother patient visit, every stronger team, every practice that keeps improving, it happens because people like you keep showing up. And I get to see it from the outside. So I want to let you know that people are alive. So now we're going on to acts of service. This is really the why you do what you do. And you can either take a picture of this slide or just in your notes write it down. Oh, let me go back to everybody wants to rule the world, great song, but the greatest leaders look at ways that they can serve the world. So how can we build that culture? So this is the slide that I was talking about. Because of the work we do, someone somewhere can. Now don't think about what you do. Think about what becomes possible because you do it. Because you show up. And you show up with grace and kindness and an attitude of service to make someone's day a little bit better. These are the conversations that you're having here. Because, again, we think it's about the money, and we talk to people that here's your hours, here's your benefits, here's your salary. But this is what's kept me in this industry for 20 years. This is why I'm here. It's the conversations that you're having in these hallways. And a lot of times, it's, we're going to share war stories, because, war stories are fun. And when we can really get down to the heart of why we do, that's what people want. That's why they come to be in this industry, so they experience that. So I have one more after this, but I do want to give you a gift. This is my book called Thank You Very Much, Gratitude Strategies to Create a Workplace Culture That Rocks. You scan the QR code. It is going to ask you a couple questions. And this is not to take the place of any surveys you will be getting from TMGMA. What will happen is it will take you to my book called Thank You Very Much. It's not designed to be read cover to cover. It's designed to go to the contents and say, ooh, there's a chapter called No Employee Ever Quit Because of Too Much Training. That's a good one. But my favorite one starts on page 85, and it's about stay interviews. So how many of you are familiar with exit interviews? I mean, most people are. And they're fine, and they show a pattern and stuff. I also think they're a little late. It's like, hey, why are you leaving? Stay interviews, and in that chapter, there's about 85 different questions to ask. But what do you like about working here? What would you change if you were me? What resources do you need? Here's a scary one. Why would you leave? Because if I know that, what's your name? Lauren? If I talk to Lauren and Lauren's like, I'm taking these classes at the community college, and if I found a job that I could use those skills, yeah, I'd probably leave. Now I know. And I could figure out, okay, how can I help Lauren to use those skills and still keep her here, like the conversations we've been having. So the stay interview, I talk about Manny DeSantis. Manny's the CEO for 3 different fastener plants. He's a busy guy. He went around, talked to all of his employees, did a stay interview. First round, they were like, why is the CEO talking to me? And they gave him exactly what they thought Manny wanted to hear. But he did stuff. And they're like, he's paying attention. Second round, they were a little bit more forthright. Third round, they were an open book. I spoke to this association before the pandemic when Manny shared this with me, and then I saw him after the pandemic. He said they did not lose a single person due to voluntary turnover during the course of the pandemic, and he attributes it to those stay interviews. It's not formal, it's just conversations. So when we bring it all home, the accountability that we don't want to talk about, but you think about the fact that you can have appreciation, you can give access, and you can have applause, but if there's no accountability, it's all going to fall apart. Because people want to know, do I matter? Are the standards set for everyone? Are we treated the same regardless, or are we recognized for the good that we do? And sometimes hard decisions have to be made because people aren't being accountable. But that's how we put all this together. I mean, your culture didn't happen overnight, and it's certainly not going to change overnight. So when we think about that survivor theme, the eye of the tiger, to build a culture where you have that drive, that commitment, it's your job as leaders to wake that up in people. And you do that through accountability, and sometimes accountability is simply seeing more in that employee than maybe even they see in themselves, and holding them all to a higher standard. So as we're walking out of here, think about what is going to be your gear to start with. And is there one thing from each of these gears that you can start doing? I mean, maybe it's attitude. You know what? I got to get from, maybe I'm getting from neutral to most of my days being good. What about appreciation? You know what? That gratitude practice sounded really great. If you go to the Greater Good Science Center, which is a website, they have all of the research. For those of you who love research, you know, in 2014, Dr. Robert Emmons was given a $7 million grant to study the power of gratitude. The Institute of Heart Math studies the power of positive emotions on our physical bodies. So there's lots of research to do this. So maybe that's what you're going to do for yourself. And buy a journal without dates, because dates will mess you up, right? You buy a journal, you're in it, you're really good for about 2 weeks, and then you forget, you get busy, and then you either got to go back and fill in the pages and make up stuff because you can't have empty spots. Or you just say, I'm a failure, and put it to the side. No, there are vendors out there with really nice notebooks with no dates in them. Visit those people and start using those as your gratitude journal. The access. Do I spend time with my people? Do I know them? Do I let them? Do I ask them what they need? And when they give me their opinions, do I approach it with a poker face? Poker face, thank you for sharing. We're not arguing, we're not justifying, we're just collecting feedback. Applause. Am I recognizing people as often and as much as I can? And acts of service. Am I having those conversations that this is why we do? Because culture doesn't happen by accident. It's led intentionally, it's supported with resources, it's reinforced daily, and it's protected while pressure hits. You know, today we've had a lot of fun with the 80s songs, Don't Stop Believin'. But the thing that I want you to walk out of here today is because of what you do, somewhere, someone, somewhere can have a better day, can have more stress, can maybe experience a moment that they know that they are okay. You keep showing up, and that's what matters. I'm Lisa Ryan, and I appreciate you. Have a great time at the party tonight. Thank you. Hello, Cat Mom. You're very welcome.
One more round of applause for Lisa. Thank you. Want to remind everyone about our dinner tonight with comedian Kelly Swanson. That's at 6 o'clock. So make sure you're ready in all your day glow and 80s gear, because then we roll right into our 80s party, our glow party. And don't forget to cast your vote for the best decorated exhibit. And a couple things while we're up here. Jennifer Long, Brandy Lewis. Don't forget to get your raffle ticket from Rebecca. If you guys drop off your signed cards at the table, make sure you get a raffle ticket. Okay. Good? Okay. And Peggy White, come find me. Okay. Let's get ready to party.